Hi there. I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, recently I have been spending a little bit more time with the needle and thread and working with some seed bead chains that can be standalone or incorporated with some chainmail work. As you see here, this is my dimensional bead chain that has seed beads on it, and I have integrated it along with this project that we're going to learn today. So my goal lately has been to make these beautiful long chains that you can wear as either necklaces or wrap bracelets that are not flat. I want a little bit more dimension. So this is definitely a beginner bead project. Anybody should be able to do this, but we're going to add a little bit more dimension to our chain so that we can make it a little bit more interesting if we're going to wear it as a necklace. And of course, these types of chains are great too if you have a wonderful pendant or centerpiece that you want to add to a necklace and you want to customize the chain to go with it. So I just wanted to show you this one I did in citrus colors, and this is the one that I'm going to be doing the demonstration with. This was actually the first one I did. This is made using Duracoat Seafoam beads and our teal drops. And I should have mentioned we do have these drops available that are in this citrus necklace. And then this last one I made to go with my dried flora collection. And I used the ivory drop beads in this and created my own bead mix. So in this top one and this bottom one, I created my own bead mixes to go with this, but you can see that this is going to look fabulous with this pendant that we have, and this is a kit available at Bead Me a Story. So let's go ahead and get started and just get your size 10 beading needle, some beading thread. I probably recommend some Fireline, and then all you need is some size 11 seed beads and some 3.4 millimeter drop beads, and you'll be ready to give this a try and see how you do with it, because it's awfully fun to make. As you can see, I got a little bit addicted to this one and made 3 different color variations for it this week. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start this weave, you can see I have a size 10 beading needle. You could use a big eye beading needle. And I have orange thread today. This is a fishing line that I bought from a fishing shop. And you can see it's very stiff and very strong too. So that was the main thing I liked about it, was the strength. Using a 10-pound fishing line was a little bit more challenging to get onto my needle, so that's why I mentioned a big eye needle in case you prefer to do that. So just for fun today, I decided to do this bright citrusy mix, but I've of course showed you a couple different colors that I did this in, so do this in any kind of colors you'd like, any kind of bead mixes you'd like. I like using a whole mix of different kinds of beads for this because these are probably some check beads that have some smaller holes to them, and I get all sorts of nice finishes in like an orangey yellow, peach, like a coral, red orange kind of color. And so, you know, using all the different finishes is really nice because you get just much more variety in the look. And when you try and match this with your wardrobe, if you're mixing it up, it's going to go with a lot more colors. So I like the bead mixes. You can buy bead mixes, but I kind of like to do mine by hand. That way I don't have to, you know, pour out all the beads at one time. I can just keep adding to my mixes as I go. Okay, so I have a very short thread here. This is just for the demonstration. Of course, when I made my chain, I used a big long piece of thread. But just for our purposes right now, let's start with this. So I'm going to pick up, I've got size 11 seed beads. All these are size 11, although, as I said, I've got some Czech and Japanese mixed up. Got a size 11. I'm using 3.4 millimeter drops in this project. So I'm going to pick up a size 11, a drop, and then 1, 2, 3 more size 11s to get started. Okay. And basically all we're doing here is a right angle weave. And the only thing I want to mention, this first size 11, we're not going to pick that up again. That was just for getting started, because normally we're going to be working off the previous row that we worked with. And I will tell you, once you have your big long piece of thread, leave a significant amount of tail. I mean, probably a good 8 to 10 inches. That way it gives you some leeway when you get to the end if you want to work a couple extra rows, or if you know, you just really like to secure it really well and not a lot. I just prefer to leave a much longer tail rather than a shorter tail. Okay, so you can see I'm passing up through that first size 11 and through that first drop bead. And I'll just show you here that this right angle weave, so this would be the bottom, the drop is my left side wall, the top is this kind of yellow orange one here, and then I would have 2 on the sides. And you'll see as we get going the purpose for having a few more, but basically it all has to do with the size of this drop bead, just having a couple of beads that can match the size of this span over on the left hand side. Okay, so now I've picked up 3, and I am going to go ahead and pick up 1, 2, 3 more. Okay, and I'm going to pass through my starting size 11 and through the drop bead. Okay, and you see I'm not passing through any of these 3 beads that are over on the right hand side, and I'm going to have the beads that I'm adding just add another row above that. So you see that gives me a little bit of dimension, because I've got 2 rows of seed beads sitting over here on the side. Okay, so I came up through my bead. Now I want to make sure my drop bead is on my right hand side, and then I'm going to pass through just this top seed bead that's right above this drop bead. Okay, and this is going to start my next row. So this is going to be the floor bead for my next right angle weave row. Okay, so now I want to pick up a drop. I'm going to pick up, let's see, 1, 2, don't think I have all my beads out here that I used in this mix. That's okay. We just want to keep this random. Okay, so don't overthink it. I'm not really in flow right now, so I'm way overthinking which beads I'm picking up. Okay, so you can see I passed out of that previous row. This is my floor. Picked up a drop, 1, 2, 3 seed beads, and then I'm going to pass through this floor bead, and you can see that the thread is exiting on the left, so I want to go from the right to the left. Okay, through this seed bead, pull my thread, and then I'm going to let it flip over just so that my drop is over here on my right hand side. It's just easier for me to reach. Okay, pull up through the drop bead, and then I'm going to flip this back around, and I'm going to pick up 3 more beads. So let's see, 1, again, way overthinking which beads I'm picking up. You can imagine I did a whole chain in this, so I didn't overthink it that whole time. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to pass through this seed bead in the same way. So you can see I'm coming out right below that drop bead, and this is adding my second row of seed beads to this chain. Okay, and you can see now we have 2 rows. This is going to give my chain a really nice dimension. Okay, I'll flip this back so I can pass up through the drop bead again. And I will just say that as you start each new row, make sure that your drop bead is on the right hand side. And then we're going to go through this size 11 that's kind of sitting right above the drop bead, but you can see this is in the row that's towards me. So there's 2 rows here. I'm just going to divide these so you can see it. Okay, and I want to make sure my drop bead's on the right hand side, and I'm going to pass through this size 11 that's in the front of the work. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up another drop. I will pick up 1, 2, 3 seed beads. Okay, my thread is exiting on that left hand side, so I'm going to come through from right to left. Okay, pull up, pass up through that drop again. I've been turning it to the right, but you know, if it's easy to get through the drop, you know, you're fine just going for it. And then 1, 2, 3 seed beads, and then I want to pass through from right to left. So you can see my drop is over on this left hand side as I do this. I just want to make sure that I keep going in the same direction. So you're flipping this from front to back. You know, you can see that this drop is right here. So I'm always coming out so that I can go up through the drop again. So you can see my 2 rows of seed beads here, my 2 rows of 3. Okay, I'm going to pass up through the drop again, and now when I'm starting a new row, that's when I want to make sure that that drop is on the right hand side so that I'm consistently passing through the same seed bead in the orientation. That's going to make it, for example, this first row is heavier on the back. This next row where the drop bead is on the left, the row is heavier on the right, and then heavier on the left, so on and so forth. So we are kind of flipping it back and forth, and we just want to make sure that this chain is going to be nice and dimensional so it just doesn't look flat. We're not going for a flat chain here. We want to go for a chain that's going to give us some dimension so that in a necklace it's a little bit more rounded and has a little bit more body to it. Okay, and I will show you that this is what this looks like as I've gotten it done. And just a beautiful seed bead mix, nice citrusy colors. Okay, so you're just going to keep going with this weave, you know, picking up a drop, 3 beads, passing through the floor, and then up through the drop, add 3 more beads, and just keep going until you get this to the length that you want it to be. And then I'm going to be back to show you how to finish the ends of this seed bead chain. Okay, so as you can see, I have reached the end of my chain. You can make this chain as long as you want to. I'm just stopping here. I'm at the end of my thread, so I could either feed my thread in and knot it and start a new thread, or I can be at the end. Now, at the end, I love this new technique I've been using lately, and I think you'll think it's great too. So what I'm using, I can use either a size 8 seed bead, a size 6 seed bead, a Toho demi-round seed bead would work great in probably an 8 or 6, or I could use a metal bead. And the reason I'm putting something like this on the end is because I want a jump ring to be able to fit through that. So I have anodized aluminum jump rings for my chainmail work, and these are not going to tarnish. And that is the point of putting something like this on the end. So not only could I open this back up if I wanted to and change either the other chain that I have attached to it or the clasp that I have attached to it, but I could also change this out too if I want to use, so let's say today I'm putting silver on here, and maybe I decide to integrate this with the chainmail chain that I used either orange or lime green. I could always change this out. So this can easily be opened and closed. Now, the only thing I would tend to avoid in the seed bead part that's on the end is maybe like a silver line bead or something that's lined where the jump ring might rub against it and wear it off from the inside if you're going to wear it a lot. Okay, So all I'm going to do, if you'll remember, as we've been going along here, and at the beginning I said this is just a right angle weave. So I want to choose one of my seed beads that had real consistent holes, because in this mix I used a mix of Czech beads, of Japanese beads, of all sorts of different finishes. So I just want to choose one that's going to be solid for the end, that had nice holes in it. So as I'm passing through things, it's not going to be a problem to get through here 2 or 3 times. So make sure that last one is something easy to use. And then I'm going to pick up my size 8 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up another one of these 11s. So I've got an 11, an 8, and 11. So we're going right back to a traditional right angle weave with 4 beads. And the first of those 4 was already here. Okay. So I'm going to just pass through here. And now this was really thick thread that I used, so I probably don't even need to pass through it again, but I like to pass through the end 2 or 3 times just to make it extra sturdy. So in this case, because this was a 10-pound fishing line that I was using, I'm just going to go through it twice. I'm sure that'll be plenty secure. This was a really strong thread. And then all I need to do now is just pass up back through my seed bead work and make my knots. And I want to make them as invisible as possible. So that's why I used an orange thread with orange seed beads. And this is a very forgiving pattern when you're working back up through it. So I don't think you'll have any problem. But basically, you know, we're just passing through a few beads, finding a convenient place to create a knot between a couple of beads. You can see I can expose my thread here very easily. I kind of snap the needle up between 2 beads, and then we're going to pull till we have a loop. Just pass through the loop and knot. And I am a crazy knotting fiend. I knot a lot. So 2 or 3 times is sufficient. I don't know. A lot of times I do 4, 5, 6 times. When you're talking about a necklace chain, I just want to make sure that it's going to be super sturdy and the knots aren't going to come out later on. So, you know, this is easy stuff here. Just making these singles. You can try a double knot. I'm not real particular with, I don't love double knots. Instead, I like to get a lot of tension by passing through these beads that have been passed through multiple times. You can break your beads that way, but I was careful as I was working this chain to try and use my beads that had a little bit larger holes at those top points, and then that way I don't have to worry too much about it. So anyway, finally we're gonna pass through our final hole. We'll nip this off and we'll burn our thread, and then you can see that we have a nice end piece here, and you can see now how big that hole is in that size 8 seed bead. And then I'm just going to take my chainmail pliers here and pass this jump ring through. So I'm using a 20 gauge 1/8. This seemed to pass through really well. When I tried to go a little bit smaller than that with the jump rings, I know you always think smaller is better, but because of the curve, passing through a size 8 jump ring can be a little bit more of a challenge. So just make sure to test the jump rings you're going to use first before you do this. And you can see I'm just going to take this and close. So this could have been, you know, even attached to the other side. I can attach this to another chain just like it. I can change the cadence of my chain. I can do so much by having this type of an end on this chain that I really like it. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this project today. I hope you make lots of these, do lots of seed bead mixes, and come up with beautiful colors. Use lots of different finishes in the drops and see how they turn out. And be sure to like and follow us on YouTube And of course, we have all sorts of kits and supplies and bead supplies at beadmeastory.com. So please make sure to check us out and see what you think might be fun to try there. Okay, thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time.